I officially call this meeting to order. The time now is 6:07 p.m. May we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Wall.
Here.
Commissioner Ward. Vice Chair Perilla.
Present.
Chair DaCosta.
Present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, sir. For tonight's presentation, we have an emergency preparedness presentation. So at this time, I turn it over to city staff.
Thank you, Chair DaCosta. Can you guys all hear me? Not here? Perfect. So my name is Julia Rodriguez. I work for the city of Eastvale. I'm technically the senior analyst and acting public information officer, but I also have an emergency management experience. So in light of all the events that have been taking place and the dire need to prepare, we thought it would behoove the community to come out and hopefully learn on how to build preparedness kits at your home, your car, for your family. So I'm hoping you guys take some good information away from you can get it from anywhere, to get those masks, that would be great, the particles don't affect the breathing. Garbage bags, if you have garbage bags, there's a whole bunch of things you can do, but I want to bring to light some uncomfortable things too that people may not think about. Obviously, you have your gloves, your battery, your flashlight, maybe a lighter, a source of fire. I don't know how many of you can actually build a fire from, I don't know, what is it, magnifying glass, the sun, or the rock. I'm not sure how you build a fire. If you're a Boy Scout, maybe that would be great. I don't know, but if you have a lighter, that might be easier emergency disasters and what to do. Do they have a little kid? Do they have a stuffed animal maybe? Sometimes, obviously with emergencies happen, they're not going to be, in their right mind either. They're going to need to get a toy for comfort, maybe something that's familiar to them to get them back to that safe place. Things like that. Make the drills fun, but practice the drills. And for those of you that have little ones, I actually just saw a video from Dr. Stephens. Maybe you're familiar with Dr. Stephens, or am I out there on this island by myself? Brandon, thank you. You have a little one. She actually has a little emergency preparedness video that she talks about, which is actually pretty interesting to get the kids engaged. in your packet as well, we have an upcoming free community emergency response training course. That's going to be October 13th through 15th. I do say it's a 20-hour commitment from you, but I promise you, you will leave there feeling more prepared than you probably thought you could be, and for free. The other thing that when you go to the training, you get a backpack that's kind of already made for you that you can start building your kit from. There's a hard hat, there's flashlights in here, there's a 4-in-1 tool in here, there's gloves, there's a lot of stuff that you can start building your kit from, aside from the little bit of stuff that we gave you tonight. You can start adding to this, and you get it to start with. The CERT training is a 9-module course, and it's a FEMA course, it's a nationally recognized course. You learn about fire suppression, so how to actually use a fire extinguisher to put out a small fire. You learn how to do triaging and medical operations. Now, they're not going to teach you how to be doctors, they're not going to teach you CPR, but they're going to teach you just enough to be able to save a life and move on to your next house or the next neighborhood or the next block. You also get taught disaster psychology, some search and rescue methods, how to actually lift and carry people. I've seen some very small, petite young ladies carry these big men out of homes or out of structures with the right training and knowing which tools you can use and which parts of your body you can use. What else am I missing? And there's so many modules, and then we usually do the disaster simulation where you can kind of learn, put it all together and actually apply the skills that you need. I've taught for certain classes for many years, and it's actually really fun. I usually get a lot of grumbling from people like, I don't want to be here, I have a weekend, I want to go to the beach, I want to go swimming, or I want to whatever. But 99% of the time you get everybody saying, I'm really glad I took that course. Because now I know kind of what to do, and when something is to happen, I'm not just waiting for a fire truck to come by or a police officer to come by, because I guarantee you the ratio of citizens to law enforcement and fire department who's not here because they're on a canyon fire, it doesn't measure out, it doesn't balance out, because there's not enough of them. We have 2 fire stations, and how many law enforcement officers, Captain Hitch?
About 150
About
at our
150.
station.
150 at the River Valley Station, and that's to serve part of Eastville, which is 64,000, I believe. We've exceeded 64,000 people in Eastville. There's just not enough. So you taking the time to get yourselves prepared by training and some of the things that we talked about today is going to be a step in the right direction. The other thing, is anyone CPR training? Okay, so I would encourage you to get CPR training. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but CPR training too, especially for summer. If you have a pool, drowning, we want to prevent child drowning. We just put up a PSA about child drowning, but it's not just for that, the drowning, but it's also for emergencies and disasters, making sure that you know CPR. The techniques and the methods sometimes change to the American Heart Association, but you want to make sure that you're certified to know how to do that, know how to save a life. You never know when that skill will come in handy. Also an AED, which is an automatic external defibrillator, which is kind of that shock thing that you use on people to bring them back. That's also part of training. So just look online, do a Google search for CPR training. There's so many different folks out there that do it. So I'm not going to endorse any one or specific person, but I would encourage you to take a look at that. One to touch on evacuation times, especially since, they're evacuating Corona. They evacuated Corona yesterday. It's a very real thing. One of the things is, there's different kinds of evacuation types. There's mandatory, voluntary, and then shelter in place. So mandatory evacuations are police department informed. They're going to tell you, you need to get out of this house. You need to leave because of X, Y, and Z. And it's usually because it's immediate and critical to life or public safety. Now, law enforcement, I'm not going to step on your toes here, but if somebody is adamant that they don't want to leave their home, I don't know how much excessive force you can actually use. I think I would imagine it has to do with if there's children or people that are vulnerable that can't make decisions for themselves, you might be able to assist in that capacity. But if someone's adamant about leaving, can you force them to leave?
We typically don't force them to leave, even if it's a mandatory evacuation.
So they're not going to drag you out of your house, but if they're telling you to leave, there's probably for good reason. You're going to put yourself in danger, your family in danger, and probably our public safety personnel in danger. The second part is voluntary evacuations, which is usually just an optional thing. Hey, we think you probably should get out of here. Your discretion. A lot of people don't want to leave their home until they see the flames coming down or something happening, and then they want to hurry and get out. And then there's the shelter in place. Sometimes there's situations or emergencies that occur where you have to shelter in place, where it's not safe for you to leave your home. And there could be a myriad of situations
Thank you, Aaliyah. Any commissioners have any questions? I'd like to remind everyone, if you would like to speak before the commission tonight, please complete a blue speaker request form and give it to the clerk prior to the item. Thank you. And thank you, Aaliyah, again. Item 3.2, code enforcement update. Officer Shuck.
Sorry, we rearranged a little bit.
Good evening, Chairman Acosta, Commissioners. Provide you the statistical information of our cases in the last 60 days since we started in August. So in the last 60 days, we have a total of 366 reports created. Of those 366 reports, we have 190 open, 168 closed. We have a total of roughly, it's been about 9 days on average in the closing requests as they've come in, with the fastest closing time for the abandoned shopping carts. Partly the reason with shopping carts is because we can physically go out and remove it at the time that the complaint comes in and return to the retailer. This does come with some outreach to the retailer as far as what they can do preventing the carts from being removed from the shopping area to begin with. Slows closed have been building code violations. You'll notice from the last meeting, I believe it was inoperable vehicles. This has changed because we have had more marijuana homes in just recent months, and as a result, that's reflected in our building code violations, because most of that is what we address when going out to the homes with the deputies. Most common continues to be property maintenance in the landscape, overgrown vegetation, trees, shrubs, that sort of thing. And then least common has been outdoor storage in just the last 60 days. Separate from just the reports and stats, we've had our sign detail, which our code enforcement technician runs on the weekends. He has pulled 859 signs in his time, and that's typically a 4 to 5 hour day, either Saturday or Sunday, which he'll go out. That also comes with outreach to both the public as well as real estate agents, as they are having their open houses. We provide them with the literature and information specific to that. For staffing, was our last meeting, we had volunteers, 2 of which have since moved on, going back to school. We had a nice transition in losing the 2. We were able to retain 2, one of which is giving us, it's Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays from 10 to 2, and then every other Friday and Saturday, we have a gentleman who's providing us time of 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., assisting in the sign detail, as well as helping out with just general caseload on the Fridays. We are holding an interview for a 3rd code enforcement volunteer in hopes that maybe we can have some more administrative duties addressed in the office. We also held interviews just in the last couple of weeks for the code enforcement technician position, so we're hopeful that the next few weeks we'll have that individual up and running. It is an entry-level position, so they will be mostly assisting with general nuisance type cases, so not with the complexity that is typically met with marijuana homes, substandard housing, that sort of thing. And then lastly, I personally just wanted to say thanks to Riverside County Sheriff's Department. It's, in code enforcement, it's usually every day for us is dealing with, property maintenance type issues. But we are met with some safety concerns every once in a while. And I've been in really great communication with Riverside County Sheriff. We've
Any questions?
I have one. What, if anything, has your relationship been with the various HOAs? I mean, I've had several people come to me that have houses in their neighborhood, and they're reporting it to HOAs, and HOAs are saying, we'll take care of it, we'll send an HOA violation, and we'll contact the city. Is that happening? I know we have numerous HOAs in the city, or is that just not happening? Would you recommend that the citizen make direct contact with your office?
Yeah, so if you live in an HOA, where you have CCNRs, it's their process that typically it would take over. If they have restrictions that are, and usually the case is that restrictions are more strict than the municipal code, that really kind of trumps our ability to enforce. Now, we have rental housing registration, which is not common in homeowners associations, so we do have enforcement authority through our East Bell municipal codes to address those types of issues. But more times than not, the homeowners association has the framework to really address the issues of the community, and because they pay a certain amount of dues, it's not typical that you'll see a code enforcement officer in a community that may already have some sort of enforcement process. So very limited interaction with our HOAs, unless of course again it's maybe a restriction that they've not already covered in their CCNRs.
All right, thank you.
Nothing from me. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Next is the monthly police department update.
Good evening,
Sergeant.
As we discussed in the July meeting, we're going to shift our stats a little bit. We were going from meeting to meeting month. We're going to try and shift it back to a calendar month to make it a little easier. So we're going to present the August stats. The first portion will be compared to the month prior. So from July 2017, we had 2796 calls for service. In August, it went to 3172, which is a 13% increase. Traffic collisions, in July, we had 66. That went down 3% to 64 in August, but that included one fatal collision. Citations issued, 452 in July to 483 in August, a 6% increase. Parking violation citations was a 25% increase, 441 to 555 in August. Vehicle burglaries increased by 51% from 29 to 44. Noise calls increased significantly from 20 to 66, a 230% increase. And mail thefts, good news, were down 54% from 22 to 10. We don't have the August UCR stats, but we do have the July stats available now. So for July 2017, we had 0 homicides, 0 rapes. There were 4 robberies, 5 aggravated assaults, 17 burglaries, 69 larceny thefts, 16 vehicle thefts, and 0 arsons. We do have some good news on the OTS grant funding. Last year, the 2016-17 OTS funding, we received $55,000. This year for the 2017-2018 year, we almost doubled that to $95,000. So we got a $40,000 increase in our OTS grant funding. We don't have the details yet on what the number or type of events are going to be, but those normally include the DUI checkpoints, the DUI saturations, traffic enforcement operations, distracted driver enforcement, seatbelt enforcement, and pedestrian safety enforcement operations. So in the near future, we should get a better breakdown on the number of events that they're going to have us do in the specific events. Other notable incidents, like code enforcement mentioned, in August, we did have 3 indoor marijuana grows. One was on August 3rd in the 1400 block of Wolfhound, another on August 18th, that was in the 1400 block of Henry, and August 23rd, the 1400 block of Silent Stream. That's all I have for you, gentlemen. Any questions?
Yeah, I just have a few questions, sir.
Yes, sir.
Looking at the monthly crime stat, being in contact with Councilman Rigby, and I know that we're in lockstep on this, is one of the things his concerns is it's still not addressing the citations. And I understand there was a little bit of feedback as to why it's not included in here. But I think, and I'm not sure if it's possible, we probably can get a city attorney's opinion on it at a later date. But let's say we're having a particular traffic problem in an area, like it's K injuries, A injuries, pedestrian versus vehicles, or just speeders. He wants to see what type of enforcement is being done in that particular area. Now, it may be that this can just be given to city councilmen and not released to the public. Again, I'm not sure, that's why we request a city council opinion on it. But that's something that he wants to look at and revisit if we can put that into the report.
Kind of like a full breakdown on location and what sort of violations they were?
What sort, like, let's say, throughout Eastvale, I'm sure there's a particular area where there's probably a little bit more speeders than normal, and there's probably a particular area where there's, like, accidents are a little bit more than normal. And what he's looking for in that is, okay, now that we've identified the problem in that particular area, what are we doing to enforce the traffic laws to ensure that it doesn't continue to happen? So he's looking for a breakdown in that area.
Okay, yeah, I can check with our administration and see what we can do. I'm not sure what sort of stats we can provide. That would obviously be a pretty detailed report, but I can check on that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Ward, if I can just interrupt very quickly, the statistics that you're looking at here is reflective of item number 5.1 under commission business items. We work with Lieutenant Martin and staff to provide some aggregate statistics. So the paper that you see here isn't necessarily the statistics that he's providing you for the month to month.
Right.
This is done a little bit differently from the data. So I just want to make sure that you realize that what he's reading from isn't
It's not
this
here.
right
No,
here.
no,
Okay, I just
yeah,
want to make sure.
I do understand that.
Okay.
And Aaliyah, maybe you have the answer to this. Is it possible that without releasing too much of that information, because I'm sure there's maybe guidelines to what the sheriff's department has, that this can be provided to city council members and to the commission as well?
The number of citations?
The number of citations, and particularly the area that these citations are being given in.
Well, we can certainly look at that and work with the Sheriff's Department further. I know Councilmember Rigby has spoken to that, and I know there's been discussions between him and the city manager and Lieutenant Martin regarding that.
Okay.
But we can most certainly look into seeing what information we can present on our crime statistics report that council's approved.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners? So in light of the speeding aspects, as my colleague has brought up, a couple of items have been addressed with my council member and I meeting, and one of which is in the Peach Blossom area. I know that my other colleague, Sean, and Vice Commissioner here, Vice Chair, has had some situations on Archibald, and I've also reported situations when I've heard them on Archibald, but of course, high rates of speed, you can't just expect somebody to get there in that time frame to respond to a said speeder. But we've had situations on Hellman and River where you have, I think the new graffiti is donuts in the street, as you see tire tread marks all across roadways, usually at the wee hours of the morning or when traffic is very light. And so with that said, is there any way that, and I don't know if this can be done through a grant, I know the City of Ontario had street racing enforcement, and I'm sure we had discussion and dialogue on this in previous months, and it might have been prior to your transition, Sergeant. But I'm wondering if there's something that could be done to step up enforcement with regard to speeders throughout our city, because I know that that's one of the issues of concern with a city that has a lot of children and young drivers too. It may need to be brought to awareness, educating, and enforcement when necessary for the purpose that we deal with the circumstances surrounding the safety in that regard, speeding through the city.
Yeah, we don't have a specific grant for that. I know prior to my coming to this position, they were doing some targeted enforcement on street racers. We can definitely check into that and see if we can find some funds or some time to do some additional patrols, and we can look into the grant as well. I would encourage everybody to obviously call us. The traffic team obviously is limited in manpower and hours, but if there's ever issues where people are doing donuts in the street, or you hear the street racing or the loud screeching of the tires, definitely call dispatch and let them know so they can get a patrol deputy there as well. So we're obviously here 24/7. The patrol guys are sometimes tasked with other calls for service, and it may take them a little bit longer to get there. And with the traffic team, our hours are obviously limited, but we can certainly look into that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I can add, on the speeding and the racing issue, we do receive reports from time to time from the public, from the commissioners and city council members, and even from our public inspectors in the field. For example, we had one on Hamner and Riverside. They said in the weekends, past midnight, usually there's a racing there on Hamner Avenue. So we immediately, this happened about a month or two ago. So I immediately contacted RSO at the time. Lieutenant Forbes was still here. So RSO responded positively, and they deployed, I don't know what the team they call it, just a certain time, and for 2 weekends. And I think they, first weekend they didn't catch anybody, but the second weekend there's like a couple of them, something like that. So we continue to work together with RSO, Sheriff Department in this case, and we do have reports from you and from your colleagues and the City Council as well. And we take this very seriously. And in one of my my staff report earlier, later in this evening, I'm going to report to you about what we can do on the speeding from engineering point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And thank you.
Thank you.
For the consent calendar, all matters are considered routine and are to be approved with one motion unless a commissioner, staff member, or member of the public requests separate action on a specific item. Has any item been asked to be pulled?
There have been no items to.
Any commissioners like to pull any items?
No.
So now it's time for a motion.
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Commissioner Wall,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chair Perilla,
Aye.
Chair DaCosta.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Item 5.1, Eastville's Crime Statistics Report. Aaliyah?
Hi, Commissioner DaCosta, Chair DaCosta. The crime statistics before you is just a receive and file. We did take the recommendations from the Public Safety Commissioners back in July to the City Council members for recommendation. We understand after hearing Commissioner Ward's concerns in conjunction with Councilmember Rigby that we will revisit the crime stats to look into reporting citations and maybe by neighborhood. I'm not sure yet how we'll do that, but we'll definitely, do some more work on our end with the Sheriff's Department and see what other items we can address there. But before you right now, as it stands, we do have the July 2017 statistics. We did add the recommended columns of the felony arrests and the misdemeanor arrests, and did also quantify them by per 1,000 people so that it puts it in a little bit of retrospect. And also the calls for service aggregate total for year to date for July of 2017 there at the bottom. So I'm available if you have any questions regarding this report.
I have one question, and it might be for the captain or the lieutenant to answer. I remember in the prior administration, we had some dialogue back and forth with the prior captain and lieutenant and sergeant at the time about reporting of response times to the various priority 1 through 4 calls for service in the city. That seemed to be a recurring theme when we did have public members come up saying, why was it taking so long for the police to get to my house? And having been a police officer for a number of years, it's a very frustrating question. And there's a lot of various facets to that. priority of the call, units in service, other calls going on at the same time, staffing levels, all that. But is there a way that maybe quarterly, and I don't know how your statistics are gathered, to present to the commission that we could take it to council, because I know this has come up in the council meeting as well, as to where our priority one versus our very lowest priority are in the time on an average that it's taking deputies to get to the citizens of Eastvale.
I do regularly receive that information from our crime analyst, so we do have that. So we would be able to provide that information quarterly or whenever it's needed. But like you explained, as long as we're able to explain to the public the variables related to that and the response times, and be able to define the differences between response times to priority 1 calls versus 2, 3, and 4. But we do have that information, and we can provide it when needed.
Exactly, and that's why I brought that up. I would hate to come out here and say, hey, there was a 40-minute response time, and for a citizen to hear that and say, well, I was calling the police and they didn't come for 40 minutes, without understanding that a priority 4 may get pushed to the bottom of the screen if 3 or 4 priority 1s go out and a mutual aid comes out or something happens to that effect. So with that caveat, I think that could be answered. But I think that that information may be good for at least the commissioners to have when answering some of these questions, or to help address some of the public's misconceptions. And some of them may be very valid points on certain call numbers or tag numbers or incidents that, hey, I know when someone calls the police that for a lot of people, that's their number 1 priority. Hey, something bad is happening to me. My neighbor's listening to their music too loud. And that may not be, in police and fire world, the most pressing issue for the citizens of Eastville or the county of Riverside. But to that one person, I think if we put it in perspective of what our overall response time is, and then we can overlay that with our violent crime statistics and show how the two work together, probably, unless anyone had anything different, on a quarterly basis. I don't think that would be needed on a monthly basis. I think that might be a little too much information overload, but on a quarterly basis, or however the department sees fit on releasing that.
Absolutely, and we can talk about it, and we can work with you.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
I'd like to add something of note. As I look at these crime statistics, they're amazing. You guys are doing an excellent job. If you look at it, 0.27, 0.24, 0.7, 0.12, 0.13, and then it's up in the area that it needs to be in, which is misdemeanor arrest. Shows that the guys are going, men and women are going out there doing good police work, so thank you.
Thank you.
So any further discussion by anyone? Richard, anything? Solicit for a motion at this time?
Make a motion to receive and file the crime reports as submitted.
Second.
Commissioner Wall,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chair Perilla,
Aye.
Chair DeCosta.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Item 5.2, Public Works Traffic Update. Joe?
Chair DeCosta, good evening. Commissioners, good evening. Before I start with my report tonight, please let me introduce Ms. Dahi Kim, our new addition to Public Works Engineering Department. Ms. Kim is our new Associate Engineer, working in traffic, land development, and CIP projects that we have. This evening, Ms. Kim has prepared all this report, and I'm taking all the credit to present it to the Commission. So. So if I got stuck here, I have to look at her and find out what the answer is. So anyway, this tonight that we have is a specific Public Works traffic update. From about 6 months or a year ago, we always provide monthly update to the Commission, and the monthly update is for projects, land development, project permits that we have, and CIP projects. Just general updates that we have. But tonight, Public Works staff is trying to provide specific information about projects that we feel would be of interest of the commission to understand and to know. We call it Public Works Traffic Update, and actually this cute presentation Prezi here is prepared just to provide the information for our presentation tonight. It's called it Public Works Traffic Update. This works, Stephen? Yeah. There you go. Okay, number one is Public Works Maintenance Program. It's a program that proactively we just started about a month or 2 months ago, back in July, I think. We are thinking about how we can provide maintenance for public works facilities that we have, the assets that we have in the city, rather than just responding to complaints from the customers, from the clients, from the commission or city council. We want to create a program that would automatically going around town to cover the entire citywide. So, so far we have the e-citizens reporting program that commission would very familiar with, would be familiar with. So you can stand up at the location, you can click and you can report it, and it bling is going to come to my email, and I'm going to respond to that. This is a proactive one, not a complaint driven. So what we do, we divide the city into 4 quadrants, 4 different areas. It's not equally the same geographically, but street-wise, the number of houses, approximately the same. So what we do every week, we go to visit each of the zone. We go drive from street to street, arterial street, major street, residential streets. We look at weeds, we look at sidewalk, if there is any trip hazard. We look at signs, whether it's covered by tree branches. We look at all those issues and we make a little note. If the issue, when I say we, it's our contracts. It's not Public Works staff, it's our contract company, which is MCE. So when the issue is simple enough, say weeds growing through the cracks between gutter and pavement, they would automatically cut it and then spray that with Roundups. When something that is, for example, a sidewalk get lifted up, they will make a note and they will come back the next day or the day after, or may schedule that for replacement or for grinding to make sure the trip hazard is eliminated. So week after week, we're gonna go through the zones to make sure that we identify the location, the ideas. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a new program, so we are open to suggestions. We're open to our own findings that we think, oh, we're gonna improve certain areas. So we created a list, a comprehensive list of what the issue that can happen. If the issue is not ours, for example, like there is a landscaping issue that belongs to JCSD. So we would call JCSD, hey, there is a tree leaning and then you have to take care of that. And there's a trash, there's a bulky item left on the right side of the road, like for example, Helmand by River. We're gonna call Waste Management to come and pick it up. So those are the coordination that we're trying to do. When we go to certain areas, say Caltrans right away, there is graffiti on Caltrans right away. We call Caltrans, say Caltrans, pick it up. So those are the proactive things that we're trying to do through this public works maintenance program. So far, it's been working pretty good. Again, we learn as we go, so we always find things to improve and for improvements in the future. The next project we have is a enhanced crosswalks. Commissioners have seen this crosswalk on, I believe, Baltimore and Scholar we just did. And we're going to do more and more, especially with priority around the school areas. We're gonna enhance that. We're gonna paint it with thermoplastics. And we're gonna spend actually quite a bit of money here, but this is for safety of our school areas or our citizens. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to include the location of this crosswalk enhancement along with projects that we have, so it doesn't have to be specially painted the crosswalks. But sometimes we cannot do that. For example, we're gonna come up with the Slurry Seal project. We included about 11, 12 crosswalk, intersections into the projects, so the cost gonna be down to cut back the cost. But when that doesn't happen, then we have to go out to bid certain ways and following public contract code. So eventually, all the crosswalk in the quote-unquote safe route to school area is going to be painted yellow. And this is the new one that we have. Caltrans and MUTCD just started this. This is called 4/3? Triple fourth. Triple fourth. There are like 3 sections here, 4 feet each. Okay, we have the crosswalk, we have the blank, which is the asphalt, and the crosswalk. The reason we do this is to create a safe area, not safe, a skid resistance area in the beginning, in the middle. So when the kids are riding a bike, when they walk, mothers with strollers, they can have certain area to cross safely without going through a slippery area or kind of more slippery area because of thermoplastics. It's been accepted by Caltrans and METCD. We're trying to apply this in Eastvale. So this is the project that we are taking right now. You're going to see more and more in the next several months with projects and without projects, with big projects or without big projects. Our goal is within the next 6 months or 9 months, all the safe route to school intersections would have these crosswalks. The next project we have is school program. School has been great, has been receiving great attention in the city of Eastvale. We're working very closely with school districts, and we spend a lot of money too, by the way. A lot of grants that we received that we pursued actually for the school areas. And now we're going to mention that later on, but the school program we do is this. We're trying to do every year, 2-3 months before the school starts, say for example after the summer sessions, we're going to review the signs, we're going to review the stripings, we're going to review the sidewalks, we're going to review everything else, make sure everything is ready for the school. So if there is anything to be fixed, to be refreshed, sign to be removed, or 3 branches, that's what we do. We've been meeting with the school districts every quarters, but this is in addition to that. So we've been meeting with school principals. In fact, Lieutenant Martin is scheduling another meeting with Rosa Parks principals in the next week or so to address specific issues. But this one is just in general. School program, we're going to launch this with this fiscal we have. The next project that we have is, there you go. This is the money that we receive from grant. We received about $80-some thousand. We spent everything on the rider speed sign plus some more because we have to supplement the money because it comes more than the amount of the grant. So we supplement that with our own Measure A and gas tax funding that we receive. And this is in the fine-tuning stage right now. It's complete, it's done, but I understand there is some glitches in certain areas. We're going to continue to monitor that. And we can change it using the tablets and online. We don't have to be there, do it ourselves because it's all solar powered and all has a Wi-Fi connectivity. So from my office, using my tablet, I can make some changes to this. So basically, we can turn it on and off. And while we turn it off, the display is off, doesn't mean that it's not recording. It can still record that. And we can download the data. So if there's any reporting speeding, we can download the data. We can create a spreadsheet, and we can work with our lieutenant and sergeant for enforcement in the certain areas. And it has some flashlights to wake you up, and we can. This is pretty slick, deployment here in the school areas. So in addition to radar speed signs, this is a location we have. 10 of the radar speed signs are located within the school areas. 2 of them, one is on Sliceman, one is on Limonite because of the high speed and arterial road that we have. The next project we have is Hamner Avenue widening project. City Council just approved through the 17-18 CIP budget to take care of some of the bottleneck areas in the city. Why is this taken or chosen to be the first one? Because Hamner Avenue by Swan Lake, as you all know, is narrowed down, especially in the northbound directions. It's choking up traffic, and there's a lifeline of Eastvale, one of the lifeline of Eastvale roads. The reason also is because Limonite I-15 freeway is going to be coming up pretty soon here. I believe sometime in May or June of next year, the bridge project on Limonite is going to start, and they're going to use Hamner as a detour. So we're racing against time now. We're doing the design, now the project is approved, the funding is there, We're doing the design, in-house design, and hope that we have is that we're gonna have at least the travel lane, the northbound traffic, to become 3 lanes. Now, are we going to stripe it 3 lanes and 1 lane southbound? Or are we going to make 2 and 2? That is still being discussed right now. But with this bottleneck elimination, we're gonna have all wide area all the way to Riverside Drive. Because now we have Chevron gas station also widening Hamner Avenue by Riverside. So this is a very good addition, very good project that we have. The city is using a CIP project money. Normally we widen the street due to project developments, but as you know, Swan Lake, in the near future, they are not going to go anywhere. So I think due to the traffic needs that we have to spend this money that we have been approved. That has been approved by the City Council. The last project is something that I believe Chair Acosta just brought up earlier about peach blossoms. This is your favorite project, Chair. So this project just recently was discussed at the City Council meeting because there's a speeding. Peach Blossom is actually a residential street, local residential street, but it's been used by traffic to cut the traffic, to have a shortcut. So they're gonna come from 65th, take Peach Blossom all the way to Scholar. We have only 1 stop sign in the middle, which is Mulan, and we have residences fronting this street with the speeding. So what we do, because this area is going to be part of the slurry seal, what we do is that we're going to add some of the enhancement on the striping. We're going to add double yellow, solid double yellow, all the way from 65th to Scholar. And we're going to add legend at 25 miles an hour on the street, on both directions. And that visual, just that visual addition to the street would help the traffickers, the speeders, to slow down. That's our expectation right now. And we're going to have addition of sign on the post, 25 miles an hour speed limit. So with that, we have some data right now that we are going to share with Sergeant Rowan here about the speed in the last month or so. Believe it or not, the average 85 percentile speed is 47 miles an hour. That's pretty crazy. And now the violators in this area, the violation actually took place between 11 and 4 o'clock, 11 and 3 o'clock. Those are the school hours, and when parents are picking up the kids from from school. So this is the education part that we have to do in the traffic, because we have 3 parts: education, engineering that we're doing, and enforcement. That's what our sheriff department is doing. So in collaboration with all these efforts and working with the school, sharing with the parents to slow down, to time your manage your time accordingly when you pick up the kids. I hope that's going to finally sink into the parents, and the community will be helped by that. Along with the Peach Blossom, what we do also is that we're going to add something similar to this. But before I go there, let me just share with you. Can we enlarge this? Yes, we cannot, right? We can. Okay. So this is okay. Well, this is just a section here. In my computer, I can zoom in and zoom out. You can see the double yellow there, and then the 25 miles and legends. So the other project that we have is Celebration Road. This is a street that connects Hamner, actually not directly, through Amber Hill, connects Hamner and the Homecoming. This is the Homecoming site. I guess my pointer doesn't work here. Does pointer work? Okay. The red line, right? Yeah, okay. So this is a Homecoming here, the gated community right here. The complaint has been in the past year or two that as soon as the gate opens, this car will just shoot out all the way to this location and slow down again, make a turn. The same way when they go home and go to the gate. So the residents here have been very concerned about the speeding. So what we're gonna do similar thing with Peach Blossom. What we're going to do is we're going to add this yellow, double yellow solid line all the way around the knuckle to the gate. We're gonna add slow 25 miles an hour on the pavement and also on the post both directions. We are really hoping that that will help. And from time to time, we put our mobile radar speed signs on the wheels. We're gonna record the speed, and if there is certain, location, certain time, we're gonna share that with the sheriff for enforcement effort. So these are the projects that we have, and we are so excited to see all this proactive thing that we're doing. I hope this is something that the community would be able to realize that it takes a lot of efforts. It takes a lot of efforts, not just enforcement, not just engineering, but also education and willingness of the community to participate in this important issue, which is safety for the community. That concludes my presentation, and if you have any question, I'm able to answer, hopefully.
Commissioners?
Joe, I only have a few questions. What's the initial site of the first crosswalk upgrade? Do we have an initial site for that yet?
Yeah, actually, the crosswalk upgrade started from old pavements and some of the faded crosswalks, especially in the school. We started it in the summer, Commissioner, where we look at the area, Scholar and high school and elementary school. We saw some of the crosswalks is not very fresh,
Right.
and some cracking in the pavement. So there is a beginning. We said, well, we're going to just refresh the crosswalk here because it's very important for the kids, 5,000 kids in the area to walk in the area.
So Scholar that's going to be the initial area for the first upgrade in or around
This
that
is a
area.
very, right, yeah.
And finally, how many mobile radar speed signs are there the city has?
The mobile one, we have 2.
2? Okay.
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
sure.
One that was recently repaired,
Yes,
if I remember correctly.
yes, yes. Yeah, we got vandalized one time. They stole the solar panels.
Thank you, Joe, for the information. Very useful, very proactive. I did have a couple questions. The Hamner project, when
Yes.
do you expect that would start, and like duration of the project?
Well, right now, we just completed the survey, and the design is going to start and hopefully be completed by sometime late November. And through the plan review and the plan check, we're hoping to go out to bid in January, December or January. So the project itself is going to take about 3 months. So we start in February. We're hoping to end by sometime in May.
May.
So good enough time to let the detour traffic for Limonite Bridge take
Sure.
Hamner, right?
Okay, very good. And then with regard to the crosswalks, just a suggestion, or if we could see if it's even possible, but for some specific crosswalks around the schools, I noticed there's a good example in Kaiser Riverside. They have a crosswalk that they have the embedded lights in the road. And I believe, and I could be wrong, it's solar powered. They have a unit off to the side so that you don't need to actually connect the infrastructure. But if that's something that may, add additional safety that maybe we could look at to see what the cost was and if that's even feasible for like school sites.
Yeah, we thought about that. We haven't proposed that for this project right now, Commissioner. The reason being, we have that usually in a very high, in a downtown area, and people use that, and just like, but what I have learned is that during the daytime, that is not very visible. Maybe at night, it's going to be visible, and then the maintenance is also an issue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and costly, of course.
Sure, yeah,
because
absolutely.
yeah.
Okay. And then the last question was for the residential areas you have up there, is the city considered like the implementation of those the huge speed mounds? I know I see those quite a bit in Riverside where I work. They're a
Right.
nuisance, but they certainly do work.
Right. We haven't entertained that. It's been requested because speed bump usually is not used in my experience in public streets. Usually in private areas with gated community, they use that speed bumps. If you enter a homecoming, they have speed bumps inside the gated communities.
Okay.
Right. And then also speed bump is not without issues because people, depending on what kind of speed bumps they use there, people complain because their car's gonna get, bottom out and send a claim and all those issues. So before we go to these drastic measures, we try to do as much we can without causing issues to the vehicles. So that's what we're trying to do, yeah.
Kind of trade
Track them.
one complaint for another, right?
Yeah, take some baby steps. And also the noise, when you travel and it's in front of your house, you can feel that.
Sure.
You can hear the noise, and after a while, people will say, "Hey, in front of my house, put the speed bumps."
Thank you. That's
Sure.
it.
Mr. Chairperson, while we're still on staff reports, would it be okay if I introduce my staff that are here right now?
Yes, please.
Thank you. As you may know, the Sheriff's Department, or may not know, the Sheriff's Department employs just under 4,000 employees throughout the county. We provide services to the jails, to the courts, to the Coroner's Bureau, as well as patrol operations, as well as our unincorporated areas and our 17 contracts that we have, including the city of Eastvale. As you can imagine, we have a lot of movement of our staff, whether it be promotions or transfers, some depending on the needs of the department as well as the needs of the employees. Eastvale has not been the exception, and we've had a lot of movement of personnel within the last few months, and we recognize this, and we would like to reintroduce our current staff to the Public Safety Commission. Now, this doesn't include the patrol hours that we have. These are deputies and community service officers that are dedicated and assigned specifically to the city of Eastvale. I believe you already know the Assistant Chief of Police, Tim Martin, in the back in the blue suit. And I would like to start with our traffic team. This team is responsible for all traffic enforcement and education with the goal of reducing traffic collisions. As an example, since the beginning of the year, they have conducted 28 grant-funded traffic operations, including DUI checkpoints, distracted driver and pedestrian safety operations, and have issued over 3,000 citations for movie violations. I would like to introduce your traffic team, Sergeant Justin Rowan, Deputy Michelle Shamhart, Deputy Dacia Medina, Community Service Officer Luann Coffey, and Community Service Officer Daryl Newman. And I think who everybody recognizes, our Motor Officer Paul Lantier. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce you to our special enforcement team. This team is responsible for mitigating crime and evaluating and solving quality of life issues that affect the community. As an example, since the beginning of the year, they have conducted numerous operations, including undercover operations for theft and burglaries in residential and neighborhoods and shopping centers, and investigated and shut down, which you've probably read about, numerous marijuana grow houses within the community. I would like to introduce you to Deputy Kylie Hansen and Deputy James Harrington.
Thank you, sir.
Altogether, these men and women have over 120 years of law enforcement experience combined, and they're proud to serve your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain.
Captain, one of the first things I was thinking to myself, they're all so young, and they got so much law enforcement experience. They're so young.
You know what? Don't rub it in, because I feel your pain. I feel your pain.
Are there any public comments?
We've received none.
Is someone doing the city staff report tonight?
Yes, sir. Hello again, Chair DaCosta and Commissioners. Just a couple of events I wanted to make the Commission and public aware of. On this Saturday, September 30th, we do have a community cleanup from 8 a.m. to noon. It's going to be a change of location. It was previously, in previous years, always at Ramirez. This year it's going to be this September 30th, it's going to be at Eleanor Roosevelt High School. We had a scheduling conflict, but we're happy we were able to reschedule, and Roosevelt High School was able to accommodate. So again, this Saturday, September 30th, 8 to noon. On October let's see, October 4th, we have International Walk to School Day, and there was some information distributed in the back table. There was also e-notification that was sent out, I believe, yesterday, and that's also on the city's calendar and webpage for information. And we have JCSD has their Harvest Festival on October 7th. Also, an e-notification has gone out. It's also on the community calendar. And then lastly, our CERT class, which will be October 13th through 15th, which is a Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday at the JCSD headquarters. And anyone that is interested in registering for that can contact myself. And that'll be it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have one more. I just want to close my traffic update. Recently, I have received from Vice Chair Perella, a report about accident on Wind River and Archibald. Mr. Perella, Commissioner Perella was there in person himself, and he reported that within the last 30 days prior to the accident, there are like 2 accidents happening on the northbound directions. One is when the car took, if you come from the bridge, there's a bend, there's a curve there by the vacant lot that belongs to a church, a future church, Vantage Point. So there is a median, and then there is a sign. So the car took the sign, and the car, actually, the skid mark is about like another 200 feet in the opposite directions. And I didn't hear anything major, so I'm assuming there was no car on the opposite direction, otherwise there's going to be head-on collisions over there. So the sign was gone, so we placed the sign back, and the next day or the next two days after that. And the second accident was that right before you hit, not Wind River, Prado Basin Road, some Prado Dam Road, Prado Basin Road, on the east side, there is this business has a block wall. I think it's like a ranch, like a stable, with a nice block wall. 2 panels of the block wall was taken by this car. Just went out the roadway. 2 panels. One is completely gone. It's a board. The other one is leaning. So what we did, we review and we investigate the situations, and we feel like it's necessary for us to add the sign. So we have ordered a sign along the curve, chevron sign saying that road curves. We add that in several locations. So people coming from the bridge going northbound, they would be able to see the sign around the curve, so they're going to slow down. We have the speed sign slowing down in that area, but we feel like some additional signs are needed over there. So just want to report back to you and also to Vice Chair Perella that we have done some additional information, installation of the signs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commission communications. I wanted to ask, and I don't know if this could be brought up as a next month agenda item, regarding the cameras that are deployed around the city. And I'm not looking for a detailed report, but just to know if they are effective, and having them been effective, if there's a possibility that we might be able to acquire more and presenting it to the council in the future possibly. Also, I wanted to ask, maybe Joe, you have the answer to this regarding the truck study. I didn't see any information today about it, and I was just curious to know where we might be in that process as well.
Very good question, Mr. Chair. Truck study has been completed with one item that is still pending Caltrans approval, which is the terminal access. We are working with Caltrans to add terminal access. Terminal access is the state route that is allowed by the state or maybe required by the state for an extra large trucks, especially anything over 53 feet and with the double cab, with a sleeping cab. We added an area, Canto Galliano, Goodman, and a portion of Hamner because of the Amazon facilities that we have there. It's been noticed that in the past, however many months Amazon building has opened, almost every day, several trucks like that that fit the description enter and exiting the freeway, going into Goodman Way to Amazon and going out. So that doesn't meet the requirements of the track route that we have. So we want to establish that as terminal access. We requested Caltrans to review that, and Caltrans is yet to review that. Once Caltrans approve and review that, we're going to add it into the track route report that we have, and we're going to take it to the Planning Commission, and then to the Public Safety Commission, and then to the City Council for adoptions. But I just want to add also, in conjunction with that, we are also looking into commercial truck parking in residential areas in the city of Eastvale. There's a separate ordinance, but upon discussion with the city attorney, he feels like this ordinance, the commercial truck parking, commercial vehicle parking, and then the truck route ordinance should be reviewed and then added to the city ordinance together at the same time. So thank you for reminding me on that. I should have given that update on that too. So I would expect Caltrans to approve that within the next 30 days. And if that occurs, then within, I hope before the end of the year, we're going to be able to have a truck route ordinance and a commercial parking.
Thank you, Joe. I've already spoke my future agenda item. Anyone have any? A motion is in order to adjourn.
Second.